International Women's Day Give to Gain Mentorship Acceleration Panel. What a mouthful. Happy Friday. Fantastic to see you all joining us again. Thank you for taking the time. Before I let our amazing panelists introduce themselves, I just wanted to confirm the format of today's session. So it'll be a 30 to 40 minute discussion, which as always, we actively encourage you to join in. There's a chat on the right-hand side that you're able to post questions as and when, and then you'll see polls kind of popping up throughout. The panel will then be followed by our speed networking. For those of you that haven't joined us before, this is where you're matched randomly for one-on-one video calls where you can exchange contact details, extend the time, or skip if it's not right for you. So thank you very much, Stephanie May, Women Automotive Network. Oksana, would you like to introduce yourself, your journey with the One Mentorship Program, and your current role?
Yes, thank you. Hello and welcome. I'm Oxana Grishina. I'm a senior leader in automotive mobility and transformation with over 20 years experience in growth strategies, commercial innovation, partnership development, and change and risk management. I've been in the automotive industry in many places, in international and in kind of different parts of ecosystem, from agricultural equipment, trucks to cars and mobility startups. I recently embarked on a new chapter in my life, in my career, and I am a strategy and transformation partner for SMEs in automotive and mobility. I'm helping CEOs to sharpen their growth strategies and translate them into focused execution. I'm really passionate about making strategy work. I think in some respect, this kind of pivot and change in my career actually been shaped by my mentee experience, because I have many mentors myself, both male and female, for different type of challenges where I go to them. And one of them also was part of Women Automotive Network Mentorship Program, which is how I got introduced to mentoring. And I've been with you, Stephanie, already for 5 years. It, sounds a lot, 5 years, but it was a rewarding journey, definitely. And I'm, really grateful to be part of this community. Thank you.
5 years, wow. Thank you so much, Oksana. And it's been amazing to be part of your journey as well. Ian, tell us, who are you and how do you fit into the Women Automotive Network Mentorship Program?
Great question. How do I fit? So Ian Plummer, I am Chief Customer Officer right now at a company called Auto Trader, which is the UK's largest automotive digital marketplace. We see a huge audience, about 11 million uniques on our platform, influence about 70% of sales in the UK, work with just about all the retailers and brands and finance houses and so on. So well connected in the automotive space over here. And my background is principally automotive, and I've worked, a bit like Oksana, in many different parts of the automotive ecosystem, all the way from being based in France, running international activities for Renault and Nissan around many different parts of the world, through to the very local, running a dealer in the UK, where I was asked to come and run a Renault-owned dealer, and then ran the group, and have we equally run the operations for Volkswagen in the UK. So mixture of brand, national, international, and retailer, local and national, and now working with all those people. In terms of the connection with you folks, it's been a fantastic journey over the last 3, I think, years, maybe 4. Had the pleasure of mentoring several people and continuing conversations with at least 2 or 3 of those people beyond the sort of official mentorship, because you create a connection and it's hopefully of value for both parties. And that's particularly what I've enjoyed, the two-way exchange, which is always enriching, and hopefully when I add my experience to the mix, useful, particularly for the mentee.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And Pinar, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Good day. And thanks for joining us today. I am Pinar Kesik, Ongun. Let me maybe briefly share my background first. I hold both a bachelor's and master's degree in electronics engineering, and I have been working in the industry since 2010. I began my career in defense sector, where I spent about 5 years focusing on integrated circuit design and systems engineering. over the past 11 years, I have built my expertise in automotive industry, starting with electronics hardware design, and then transitioning into the applications engineering role. Today, I'm with Analog Devices, working as systems architect and product designer. My journey with Van is relatively short. So I met with the Van and the team when a very inspiring woman leader in our company nominated me last term. My first reaction was honestly a mix of hesitation and excitement. It felt like such a meaningful opportunity, yet I wondered whether I could give it the time and the focus it deserved just because of my heavy workload. Looking back now, I am really glad I decided to join. Again, in this relatively short time, it has been an enjoyable and meaningful experience for me.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. And we won't go too much into the One Mentorship program now, but we can find out more about that. What this session is about is the international theme. So giving to gain and mentorship. Oxana, what does give to gain mean to you? What does being a mentor mean to you?
Let me start with the saying that for me, success isn't just about what you accomplish in your life. It's about what you inspire others to do. And I think this is kind of the motto that I apply to mentorship, is that I'd like to use my experience, my leadership skills and capabilities to inspire other women to take the ownership of their career development, and so that they can confidently define where they want to go and how to get there. And when I see success stories, when I receive good feedback, it really means a lot to me, because of the impact. And another area, I think, from my perspective, is also personal growth. I mean, we never stop growing, both from personal and professional perspective, and mentoring is a great opportunity to do so.
Thank you. Ian?
Well, I think give to gain is pretty obvious. I think it's great to give, and when you do give, you generally, I think, simplistically enjoy that. And that's the selfish side of being a mentor. I think we shouldn't fail to recognize that it is beneficial for both parties. And I particularly enjoy the opportunity to mentor people and to learn about their backgrounds, their companies, their part of the world. And I think that inspires more people to want to do mentorship, because it is, I totally agree with Oxana, absolutely uplifting, I should use a better English word, forgive me, uplifting, to be able to enjoy seeing other people lift up with you. Mm-hmm. So that is great to do, and it's altruistic, but it is also sort of selfish. It gives pleasure to oneself to see that happening, and particularly to be able to be involved in an environment where you're helping to correct inequities of what I would like to say are the past, but are still present today, and you're doing what you feel is at least a little bit more as a man, as an ally in this too male-dominated world, to try and rebalance things. And like I said, fundamentally, that feels like a good place to be. And that's the selfish side of things. And I don't think it's a bad thing to recognize that somehow.
Yeah, perfect. Well, we'll go into the value of being a mentor. But Pinar, you said you were nominated to join the program, and you didn't feel quite ready and you didn't have enough time. How are you finding it now? Have you got that give to gain feeling?
Definitely. So it's also, to me, like a growth and meaning through contribution. I would say just a few examples on my side. When I mentor, I can say I gain perspective. I grow as a listener. Mm-hmm. I become more aware of my own blind spots. Even, sometimes I even gain courage, because when I encourage my mentee to speak up, I hear my own advice too. So it helps me to kind of pause, reflect, and put into words the things I have been naturally doing over years, and turning my experience into something clear and shareable is a refreshing challenge for me. And just as importantly, seeing our conversation support my mentee's early career is truly meaningful. And her energy and motivation are both inspiring. And knowing that I can contribute to her clarity and confidence is both motivating and personally rewarding. So I know it's a relatively short time, but I can say it's not about creating value for others. I also find deeper purpose and the growth in the process myself. That's the selfish side, as Ian mentioned, I guess.
Amazing. I really like that as well. The advice that you're giving others, it's sinking in and it's reminding you. It's like an organ, you've got to keep practicing the same thing happening. Okay. You guys have touched on the value of a mentorship, maybe selfishly, giving back, uplifting others, supporting and rebalancing, shall we say, the world. What would you say to someone who's considering being a mentor? Ian, can I ask you that first? What was the moment that made you decide this is right for you, and what would you say to others?
Well, when I first decided to be a mentor was when I first realized the value of being a mentee a long time ago, back in my early career. When you realize the value you can gain from the advice of somebody who's not in a hierarchical position in relation to you, probably doesn't work in the same company, but could do. That's great as well. We do that a lot within our own company. You have a bit more of an openness of exchange than you're likely to have when you might seek advice from your boss or your colleagues, but you might hold something back a little bit. So you can be frank and honest in both directions. And I think that's hugely valuable. I saw that, therefore, as an mentee and wanted to do the same in return. And when you see the value you can gain and you feel like you've got enough experience, then you can, I think, quite reasonably say, well, I can offer in return. I think that's one of the key points, is having that confidence to do that kind of thing. It's like the confidence that I think we need to see in women going for jobs, the old imposter syndrome thing that is still out there. When I mentor people, particularly in terms of trying to lift up women or people of any different ethnicity or any other form of socially imbalanced part of our community, it feels like the confidence factor is the biggest blocker. So anything that I can do in regards to giving people the confidence is great, but you at some point need to even have the confidence to be a mentor and believe that you have some sort of value and some learnings and some experience to share. And just about everybody does. So I would just encourage everybody to think that at some point, probably not far away, if not already today, you have a load of value to share with other people. Find that person.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I would add is that mentoring doesn't require perfection, right? You don't have to be perfect and don't have to wait for the perfect moment, but it requires your willingness to share experiences and be vulnerable in some respect, because you're sharing your own experiences, maybe good stories, bad stories with the mentee, but also be prepared to hear some vulnerable feedback from the mentee. So it's a kind of really interesting dynamic, but as you mentioned, it's kind of, because you are not hierarchically connected, you kind of, it's a third parties that you more freely sharing information. And from my perspective, to start mentoring, you just need to identify 2 or 3, even one area where you can add value to another person, if it's a career development or stakeholders management or even personal effectiveness. Now, how can I manage my time, right? So if you have some learnings around those topics, that's could be a starting point. I don't know, I don't want to steal a thunder, I don't know from Pinar what you want to say, but I just wanted to add as well. So it's important to show who you are as a person rather than only professional. So who you are, authentic self outside of the work. So this will resonate with some people, and then it will create the right connections.
Yeah, I think we've heard it said a number of times, you only get out of a mentorship program what do you put in, and the mentor can encourage you and can draw you to your end goal, but you've got to be aware of yourself. You've got to constantly challenge yourself, give yourself some more confidence to ask the questions, to even ask for a mentor in the first place, right? Perfect.
Agreed.
Pinar, would you like to add anything about the value of the mentorship and kind of that the role that you faced in women in automotive?
Sure, definitely. Maybe, I mean, Ian and Oksana already covered, but let me add maybe a bit from my side. So to me, it's really growth. The biggest value is the growth. And, you know, it's a different kind of growth that really comes from helping someone else grow. It's like uplifting together. And one of my hesitation also initially was whether I could do it perfectly, because this is something I'm dealing with myself as well. I need to do anything perfect. And I questioned myself whether I could do it perfect, the mentorship, you know. But then I forced myself because I really wanted to do it, in depth. I knew it. So for my first session with my mentee, I felt a big pressure to get it right. I made lots of research, listened podcasts, read books, you know. Then I realized maybe it's not just the structure itself. If I really come up with the right questions to let my mentee to feel comfortable enough to reflect back, that might be the right way to do it. And I, you know, prepared a few opening questions, and that questions help us to continue our discussion in the following sessions too. And, you know, if anyone to considering being a mentor today with us, I would say you do not need to have all the answers, which I didn't have as well. I need to read, you know, research to help my mentee, and it helped me to grow or develop myself as well together with her. So I would say we just need to show up with intention, listen well, and be open to learning, and we will grow as much as the person mentee we are supporting.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask the next poll to go live, because it's what does mentorship mean to you? And I think it would be really interesting. Oksana, Ian, you've been a mentor with us for a number of years, but Pinar, you know, what do you keep hearing? What are the challenges that your mentees are sharing with you, why they've joined the program?
I can maybe answer that one and pick up on what Pinar just said. I was struck by, Pinar, you talked about looking, when you were first doing this, for perfection. Now, I don't want to stereotype too much, but most men doing most things don't wait for perfection to jump in. We know that old story, yeah?
You know the stats, right? Women only apply for a job when they're 90.
Exactly that.
Yep. You got it.
And you did a great job. You did some research, and then you thought about the questions and the framing, and you did your authentic, genuine approach to the discussion. And I'm sure that would have been enriching for you and for your mentee. And it then went in different directions that you couldn't have even prepared in advance, because you didn't know which way that person wanted to direct their the discussions that they valued having with you. So I think it's important to just start and to get going. But the main thing that I find, back to your point, Steph, is that it's not necessarily what people come and say, but it's definitely what you still feel. It's all about confidence. And I think it's fundamentally important for the mentor to help understand where that mentee is coming from and why there might be some feelings, usually perceptions of lack of confidence, and how to maybe address that without all of a sudden going gung-ho and being, you know, jumping into everything and trying anything. But there's fundamentally this confidence gap, which you still see too often, which is holding people back. And we have a program in Autotrader called the Diverse Talent Accelerator, where we encourage people to sort of apply for a program of training and so on, basically trying to give people more confidence, middle management and lower, to accelerate their career, generally speaking, by gaining in confidence, more exposure, more understanding, but all of that builds confidence so that they're bolder and braver in their choices. That's fundamental.
Yeah, I think you can practice confidence. right? So it's giving that practice to see yourself in the different shoes and in confident shoes and try to get there. So yeah, it's absolutely. I think to answer your question, Steph, in terms of what I see from my mentees when they come to me, is mainly the questions around career direction, because many of women feel that they want to change. They want to change something, but they're not clear. They don't know what they need to change, how they need to change. I think that's kind of lack of clarity then creates also lack of confidence, because I don't know. I know something has to change, but I don't know what. And and kind of career development mentoring, this is my sweet spot. I really love to do it and work through all the kind of questions with my mentees. And we start asking open questions, right, Pinar? So it's right. You start asking open questions and investigate what's going on in their current role, what's going on in the company, in their lives, and just to understand the environment they are in, because it may be environment a problem, or maybe just to understand. And then we also reflect on other things, is who they are themselves, authentic selves. Do they understand their values? Do they understand their strengths and motivations? Because I think to build your career, you first of all need to understand yourself very well. And again, these are the key blocks to build your own understanding and build a little bit more confidence in. And once kind of that's clear, we then build this career development plan together. And another thing I see, especially with women who have full household, full-time job, 2-3 children, whatever. Actually, I had a case of a young girl with 3 children. She was trying to kind of develop for her career, but her main problem was time management. So how to find time, to dedicate some time to your personal development when you have so many other priorities, so many plates to spin. I think that's another question I ask. Do you have time to actually develop yourself? If not, we first work on personal effectiveness, on time management and prioritization, and then move into, more fundamental kind of thinking. This is what I see, this is what I track in terms of mentees who come to me.
Oh, this resonates with me so much. The whole time, is the most valuable and precious aspect of our life. And the amount of times that I've spoken to kind of rising stars or even senior leaders, and I'm saying, please just take a break, please just have some time, invest in yourself. You can't keep running like this. And they go, I don't have time. Yeah. What were you going to say, Pinar?
I just want to add maybe 2 more topics. I'm also trying to support, the colleagues around me who are in their early careers, throughout my career, because I didn't have myself always someone to discuss about my career direction, long-term goals, or even confidence. That gap also made me kind of aware how mentorship or just support, could help others. So one of the most common topics I'm discussing with my colleagues and my mentee as well is the relationship with managers, because many early career professionals struggle with navigating different leadership styles, which I had myself also, went through the same journey. And especially when they, faced with micromanagement or unclear expectations, they really struggle how to proceed. That's something I'm discussing quite often. And the other one is, how to handle difficult or unexpected behavior at work, especially when, they feel kind of undervalued or treated unfairly. They just do not know how to, deal with such bad situations, I would say, or hard situations at work. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to help with those areas as well. Of course, my role is not to provide ready-made answers, but really trying to help them to step back, gain some perspective, and approach the situations more strategically rather than emotionally.
Yeah. Thank you. And I think you've hit the nail on the head, the lack of role models, and especially, for the younger generation growing up, we've got to give back, haven't we? We've got to be
Can I just add one other point? Oksana mentioned the sort of why and the what. I think the why is really important. Why do you want to change? Because often people want to change something, do something different, new job, new focus, and then you can get to the what once you've understood the why, and then you get to the how. But I think Oksana also mentioned the point around the sort of the who. I think that's a really, really important one as well. Psychologists will always say one simple thing that it's really stuck with me in my career, that you do well what you enjoy and you enjoy what you do well. That creates a virtuous cycle, and it spins really fast. So everyone has superpowers, as per well-trodden book that's known, I'm sure, by some of you. But identifying what your strengths are and playing to them, and recognizing that's probably what you're going to enjoy, and therefore do well, and therefore grow your career further and further, is really important. It's fundamentally useful, and I think often overlooked. It seems too simple, but it's really important to just nut down what you enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to identify the strengths, it's actually the first kind of problem that we need to resolve, because again, women very quickly can identify positives in other people but not in themselves. So it's maybe that's the kind of modesty that we need to overcome and to work through that.
Perfect. We're drawing to a close, so I just wanted to tighten up the answers here. So how can mentorship accelerate your career? Let's talk about this from two sides, and I'm going to ask you two questions here. So how can being a mentor accelerate your career, in one or two words? Oksana?
Being a mentor helps me to develop a more collaborative leadership style.
Perfect. Ian?
Opportunity, context, awareness.
Pinar?
Cool. Maybe growth, and I would say Oksana and Ian already covered two of mine. So
you got the short.
I would say growth. No. I mean,
you saw mine.
Maybe inspiration.
Perfect. Yeah. And I think obviously just that networking, that natural networking, the more people that you're mentoring or being a mentee to, you're making yourself visible, you're making yourself out there for those new opportunities. So women in automotive, there's no lie about it. We're still 20% of the workforce across the industry. So I'm going to ask, what's the most impactful advice that you would like to say to anyone who's considering being menteed at the minute?
Impactful as being a mentee.
I think Pinar should go first on this one, because she got the short straw on the last one.
No. Thank you. I'm usually, supporting the early career. So my advice would be really for them. I would say don't internalize everything, especially in your early career, when you are working under close supervision or facing micromanagement. It's easy to assume that frequent checks reflect your competence, but often they reflect environment, not your ability. Instead of personalizing everything, please step back and zoom out. If you find yourself in such a situation, first you can clarify the expectations, ask what good looks like, define what you can decide independently, communicate proactively, and maybe lastly, build the trust intentionally. I think maybe just one more. We should separate feedback from identity, right? Feedback is about the task. It's not about our words. So we shouldn't let someone else controlling style shape our confidence. So.
Definitely. Before Ian and Oksana answer this, you've mentioned something here about you mentoring early years, and we haven't touched on this, but there is so much to be learned about reverse mentorship, especially now you know, with the older generation, the legacy, they've got the knowledge, but the younger generation potentially have the new tech skills. So we are finding this more and more. The reverse mentorship is just as valuable. And it's one of the hot topics that we keep hearing come up throughout all of the events the last 6 months or so, that cross-generational piece. So bear that in mind, Pinar especially, I think, because you keep saying early years. Ian, what keeps coming up? What do you want to share?
I think my advice to mentees as well as mentors would be the same, and it would be around being bold and being brave. It goes back to my point on confidence. You need to sometimes just take the risk of putting yourself out there and going for it and embracing what may feel like a risk, because it is also the same thing as what you could also call an opportunity. You could flick a switch on many things. If your glass is half full, it's an opportunity. If it's half empty, it's a risk. You've got to try and fill it and go for it as an opportunity. And my honest opinion in life is that you regret the things you don't do. If you try something and it doesn't work, yeah, you might sort of fear that that's a downside consequence. Clearly, you'd rather avoid. Of course it is. But you won't really regret something you gave a try to. You gave it a try. By definition, that's a good thing. So just embrace the challenge and be bold and be brave.
Yeah, I would say if you do something, obviously there is a 50% probability of fail. But if you don't do something, it's 100% fail, right? So that's how I see things. From my perspective, I will definitely say that take ownership of your own career development in your hands. Don't wait to anybody, company or anyone else that could provide you, support, of course. But you have to be leading this process yourself. Yeah, that's obviously for mentees, but this is valid for mentors as well.
Yeah. Definitely. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate your advice, sharing everything that you've come across whilst being a mentor and inspiring us today. Audience, do you have any specific questions for these mentors whilst they're on stage with us? Please feel free to pop them in the chat and we can ask them whilst we've got them. Whilst we've got you as well, mentors and the audience can think about some questions. We've got a poll that I'd be very keen to hear your answers on. What is the biggest barrier to career progression for women in automotive at the minute?
Confidence.
Throw it out there.
Yeah.
Confidence?
I'm afraid I'll go back to that one. It is confidence. It's just, it's not just women, but people who lack the confidence to throw themselves at something. And it's the age old, you mentioned it, Steph, there's 10 criteria on the job application. I've only got 8. I won't go for it. Mm-hmm. Well, people go for it if they've got 5. Yeah. And it may not be right for you, but most people, you imagine, you put yourself in a situation, you're applying for a job, you stick with that example for a second. Very few people have all 10 characteristics or capabilities or skills of a given job. They just don't, because you start a job and you learn it. You bring something with you, of course, but you have to add things in as you're learning it. So you have to be confident that you can learn it and you will develop those skills that you need to add into the 5 or 6 that you have to start with. So it is a question of taking risks and trying. It's easier said than done, isn't it? Be confident. Yeah, I know shit, excuse my language, but it's just pushing yourself and other people giving you that confidence maybe to push yourself, which will make a difference and give you a chance.
And I think more than ever, Ian, people are looking for that attitude rather than the skill set, because we're having to retrain continually in automotive at the minute. You
recruit for attitude, not for skills. If you've got any sense, absolutely. Mm-hmm. No, and if you're looking for a product engineer in our digital world, you kind of need to know how to code, but there are exceptions.
Oxana, what do you think is holding women back?
Yes, I think it's we need to think in a way that the circles of influence, right? So what we can change, what we can impact personally, and personally we can only impact our own level of confidence and try to ignore imposter syndrome or manage that. That's the first thing I think, is that we. With the women, I'm talking about myself as well. So for how many years I've been, trying to build these confidence levels. But But I would also say that there is another barrier, I think, which kind of will reduce with years, is the lack of visible female role models. In my career, I've worked only for one, I had only one female director in my, as my manager. So I didn't know what the female style, leadership style would look like, etc. So I think we just need to continue working on, progressively, step by step, having a little bit more women in leadership roles, and make sure that these women also play mentors role, playing, roles of, role models to younger generations. That was 2 points I want to pick up.
Thank you so much. Pinar?
Maybe I can add really quick. Yeah, sure. So I would say self-advocacy with ownership. We need to take space when needed, ask for resources, make our work visible. I think that's really important, and communicate our impact confidently. I mean, it's indeed confidence. I totally agree. But, the visibility and positioning quite important to be a leader. And we as women, we have to be more careful and we have to put more attention in these two areas, I guess.
Definitely. And that brings me once again to thanking you all. Thank you for today, but also thank you for giving back. Really appreciate, you being part of the community, you mentoring for us, and kind of being that support that we all need right now. Before we move on to the networking, it will go live. Okay, Alex, you got me just in time. We've got one question, guys. What methods do you use to foster female talent at your respective businesses to achieve gender parity within your leadership teams? So Ian, you've mentioned you've got the acceleration program. Pinar, we touched on this. Does Analog have any internal female talent development programs?
We have a group, which I unfortunately haven't had a chance to join yet. But there's a group for women leadership in Analog, which help, like a community helping each other. So.
And Oxana, you've just left Hyundai, you're setting up on your own.
Yes. Yeah, I think I've seen different type of organizations in different maturity level in this respect, right? So I think if I would say, from JLR, Jaguar Land Rover perspective, it's quite known for a broad support network to women and, other minority groups. So that's, I think, is a good example. Hyundai is at, let's call it emerging capability from in this respect, but I know there is quite a lot in the pipeline from diversity and inclusion strategy perspective.
Steph, can I just add a couple of points if I may? So we have programs, I think everybody has, but one thing that I think is the real start point for everybody, easier said than done, is visibility. You need to see what you want to become in terms of a female leader. So the COO of Auto Trader has just unfortunately left, woman, my previous boss, along with the CEO, just to become a CEO of a FTSE 350 company. There are only, I think, 10% of FTSE 350 companies that have a woman CEO. She's amazing. Love her to bits. She's outstanding character, but she gives visibility to people that they can follow. We have a board which is majority female, and a leadership team, which I think is a senior leadership team, which I think 45% female. So if people see role models, that inspires others to follow. And then when you have a program, people can see that it is real, it's tangible, it's not made up. Second quick point is you need to also work the lower levels. So we have, for example, in between, I've mentioned the mid-level, but in the tech world, for example, it's very hard to find senior women software engineers or data scientists at senior level, because there just weren't enough through the STEM sort of learning sort of process where women didn't, girls didn't get into STEM enough, didn't go into sciences enough, therefore didn't go into software enough. So if you want to balance your teams at every level, sometimes it's impossible because there just aren't any to find. So we therefore massively over-index. We'd have a big grad intake, but we massively over-index on women in those capabilities because there are some coming through now, and therefore we build our own. The last thing, third quick point, is networks. We do a lot to try and encourage a more female-centric buying experience in automotive. We have a network with retail focus for women in retail. Women want to buy from women, men want to buy from women, but there just aren't enough. So we try to do as much as we can in our wider ecosystem. So I think we all have a role to play. And if we all lean in and we don't just talk, we do, then I think we have a chance of changing things.
You could be a benchmark to study or a case study, I think, Auto Trader. Good. Thank you for sharing, Ian.
That's great, aren't they? Perfect. I will give you the floor once more. Are there any parting words before we move on to the speed networking and the audience can engage with each other? No? Wow, perfect. Thank you once again. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. So speed networking will become live in a moment. It's on the left-hand side of your screen. This is where you're matched for one-on-one video calls, totally randomly. Like I said, you can exchange your details, you can extend the time, or you can just skip. It's the not right connection for you. For those of you that don't know about us, Women Automotive Network does have their own mentorship program, which these amazing mentors are part of. We guarantee 6 meetings within 4 months, but as Pinar said, and Ian, they're still in touch with their mentors. It's a very, very one-on-one rewarding, I would say, an engaging program. And for those of you that want to see some of the other fantastic activities that the network does, we'll pop it in the chat. Hopefully see you Detroit, Germany, Mexico, or at some of the local meetups. So thank you. Enjoy International Women's Day, everyone, and the wider activities in the following days. Over and out. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.